From Anshe Sfar Beth El Emeth Congregation, it's time to take 10 Minutes for Torah with Rabbi Joel Finkelstein.
Welcome to our discussion of Parshat Bo, which month is on first. We know that the Parsha gives us the very first mitzvah in the Torah, that which we've been looking forward to since the very first pasuk in the Torah. Where is the beef? Where are the actual mitzvot of the Torah? Perek Yud Bet, chapter 12, Parshat Bo, that's the first mitzvah. Achosh zeh lachem Rosh Chashim. This month to you is the first of months. Is that a mitzvah? What is that? What do you mean it's the first month? So Rashi says, the simple meaning is like this. Not as the rabbis say that it means that it's a mitzvah to make a Rosh Chodesh, but rather that Al Chodesh Nishan Amalo Zeya Rosh L'Seder Minan Chadashim. This should be the beginning of the count of months. When you count months, if you want to write a check in Iyar on Yom Ha'atzmaut, it's the 5th of Iyar. So you have to write 2-5. What is it? 00, Tavshin Pei, 80. That's what it should say. It should not say that it's the 5-5, it's the 5th day of May. If you want to count months, you should count the Jewish months, and the first month is Nisan. The Rashi in Rosh Hashanah, Minchas Asher points out that the Rashi in Rosh Hashanah, in Daf Zayin and Aleph, says that when the Gemara says, B'echad b'Nisan Rosh Hashanah l'Chadashim, the first of Nisan is the first for months. What do you mean months? Rashi says to count the months. And when you want to know which is the first month, well, after all, the Torah says the 7th month is Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Sukkot. What's the 7th month? Well, Nisan is the first month. So Tishrei is the 7th month. The Ramban, in fact, actually says, Nitzavenu limnos minyan hachadashim mechodesh Nisan. We were commanded to count the months from Nisan because the Nisan is the month in which Pesach occurs, because it was during that time that we went out of Egypt and we want to remember the exodus from Egypt. So that's why it's important to use this numerology, this number system, to know that Nisan is 1, Iyar is 2, that the spring is the first month. Why? To remember that's when the exodus took place. That's when the spring of our people, the beginning of our people took place at that time. But then what about the fact that we don't use those names? Instead of saying it, let's say that the Yom Ha'atzmaut is 2-5, that it's the 5th day of the 2nd month. Instead, what do? We say it's Hey Iyar, it's the 5th of Iyar. Why do we do that? Iyar, what about you? Don't you want to remember the Exodus? So he says, no. When the Babylonians came with Ezra back to the land of Israel, so they had already learned a lot of the names from Babylonia. So there were names of Tishrei, Cheshvan, Kislev, Tevet, the Hebrew, what we today call Hebrew names of the months. They're really the Babylonian names. So why do we use these non-Jewish names? So the answer is that we adopted the months of the Babylonians to remember a different miracle, that we went out of Babylonia and we came to the land of Israel. He quotes the pasuk in Yirmiyah. Yirmiyah says that when the redemption comes, we usually say this is talking about the final redemption, but it could be said about the first redemption of Ezra as well. That people will forget the Exodus and they'll say, wow, God took us out of Babylonia in different places from the north. So it's a pasuk in Yirmiyah, Tet Zayin, chapter 16. So therefore we don't need to count the months from Nisan as 1, 2, 3, as the Torah does, but we switched it to Nisan, Iyar, Sivan, Tammuz. We switched to those names because they remind us of the Exodus from Babylonia. Also important. Now, based on this Ramban, the Chassam Sofer, who was Moshe Sofer, he lived in the 19th century and he was trying to fight modernization of Judaism and the Reform movement, which was in nascent stages, and some very radical ideas there, especially at the beginning of the Reform movement. And so he fought very hard. So he says, it's terrible. How could people, they use the non-Jewish names of the months. They say January, February, March, April. What do you mean? And what do we do? Sometimes we write a check or we write the date and we say, for instance, today is, what is it? It's January 30th, so it's 1/30, and then we use the non-Jewish years. What are we doing? How can we do this? There's a mitzvah. The Ramban says a mitzvah to use either the Hebrew names from the Second Temple or the number as the Torah counts, 1, 2, 3, starting with Nisan. So the Sefer Ikarim, the Rabbi Yosef Albo, has a strange answer. He says, well, once we came from Babylonia, we canceled the previous mitzvah. Cancel the previous mitzvah? There's a book called Get Pashut, about the laws of a get. And it says there that that's ridiculous. They can't make up new mitzvahs. You can't cancel a mitzvah. It's ridiculous. And we know that it was never fully canceled because in the book of Megillas Esther, in the book of Esther, what does it say? It's the 12th month, which is Adar. So you could use both. They didn't cancel the number 12. It's still, Adar is still the 12th month. The month of Purim is still the 12th month. It's also called Adar, so it's not canceled. Furthermore, Torah itself has other names. Torah has Chodesh Ziv I believe that is, Chodesh Ziv is Iyar, Yerach Bul, I think, Chodesh Ziv I think is Nisan, Bul I think is Iyar, and Yerach Etanim is Tishrei, if I'm not mistaken. So there are 3 names of months before the Babylonian era. Back in the days of Solomon, we were already calling the months by, in the book of Kings, we're already calling months by other Hebrew names. So, so 2 can coexist. You can call them by other names, and you can call them by the numbers as well. Actually, if you dig further in the Ramban, not the Ramban in Chumash, but the Ramban in a Drasha on Rosh Hashanah, he says the following. He says that, like the Ramban said elsewhere, that we want to remember the Exodus from Babylonia. He says it's not instead of the mitzvah in the Torah that Nisan should be first, but these are the names and these are the numbers. Every month has a name, every month has a number, and the Ritva in Rosh Hashanah says the same thing. Okay. Now the fact is, the whole premise of our question until now was the Ramban, that there's a mitzvah to count Nisan as 1 and Iyar as 2, etc. But actually, the Rashba and the Ritva, they don't mention the Ran. They don't mention that the first of the month is because it's a mitzvah to count it as the first month. They just say that, you want to know when to make the holidays. So Nisan is the time for Pesach. It has nothing to do with. It's not about counting for what number month it is. There's no mitzvah to count that Nisan is 1 and Iyar is 2, according to some rabbis. Now, Binyan Shlomo wanted to suggest that that really it's when the Beit Din, the court, says that it's a new month, they should say what number it is. But there's not a lot of evidence that that's true. Rabbi Usher Weiss has an interesting two answers to this question. We know that there's a debate between Rabbi Yeshua and Rabbi Eliezer. Rabbi Yeshua says the world was created in Nisan. Rabbi Eliezer says the world was created in Tishrei. So, if the world was created in Nisan, and we follow Rabbi Yeshua, we usually follow Rabbi Yeshua, then Nisan is just the natural time. You don't need to say this is the first month. Of course it's the first month. It's only according to Rabbi Eliezer that really the world was created in Tishrei at Rosh Hashanah time. And then we have to say, there's a special mitzvah to say, don't do it the way that most of the world does it. Change the first month to Nisan. No, but according to the approach that we say, that the world was created in Nisan anyway. Nisan is the natural first month of the world. Therefore, of course it's first, and therefore there's no special mitzvah to count from there. It just naturally is the first month. According to Rabbi Yeshua, the Torah is simply telling us that the world was created at that time, and that's why it's the first month. There's no special mitzvah to count from there. Also, you could say another answer, that if I say that today is January 25th, therefore the date is 1/25, so 1, It's not one. There's a mitzvah in the Torah that Nisan is one. No. There's a mitzvah in the Torah that the lunar months should be counted, that today is, let's say, it's Shvat, so it's the 11th month, it's the 11th month. That's as far as the lunar months go. But as far as the solar months, the Torah has no position on that. You can be whatever it is, or whatever, if you want to call it 1, 2, it doesn't make a difference. The solar months don't go according to this count. Of course, you could argue with that position, because you could say that the solar month of spring should be the first month. Another limud zchus, another way to explain why most people don't care about this question. Most people are not strict to never write 1, 25, 20, or whatever the year is. Most people are not strict about it. Why? He says, the mitzvah is not so much that you should count 1, 2, 3, Nisan, Iyar, Sivan, Tammuz, Av, Elul. No. The main thing is that you should consider it the Rosh. What the Parsha is saying, this month is the most important month. It's the month you went out of Egypt. According to Rabbi Shua, it's the month the world was created. It's the month of Pesach. It's the month where a lot of important things happen, the inauguration of the Mishkan. That's what it means. It's the importance, the chashivus of the month, not the count of the month. So therefore, we can explain why most people are not careful about this. But the truth is that when we're writing a check, if it doesn't make a difference, you could write January 25th, or you could write 1/25. Maybe, if you want to be machmir, you want to be strict according to Ramban, maybe it's better to write January 25th than anything else. As far as the years go, that is a different question. Thanks for joining us here at the Anshe Sfar Beth Elam's congregation, here for a discussion of the counting of the months. And join us each week for a discussion of the Parsha and the holidays. And thanks to Jason Lefkowitz, our producer.
This has been 10 Minutes for Torah with Rabbi Joel Finkelstein. To learn more, visit asb.org.